How are we doing now? Let's try this again. All right, guys. Hi. My name is JC Sum, and this is episode 6 of the Illusion Breakdown series. We'll do this once again, how to customize magic for corporate events. So, what is a corporate event? Well, so you're going to be performing at, could be a trade show, a gala dinner, end of conference dinner, a launch event, a media event. These are all corporate events, but it doesn't mean that it's a you're performing corporate magic, and that's what we're talking about today: corporate magic. So, what exactly is corporate magic? So, corporate magic is a style of magic you'll be performing in corporate events. You could be doing, let's say, an entertainment show in a corporate event, but there's no corporate magic. You're just doing your act or your set, and you just happen to be at a corporate event for a corporate audience. But corporate magic is quite specific, and loosely or generally, it would be magic with a message. Magic that somehow features the corporate product, the brand, or a business message that the client wants to communicate to the audience. So it's a very specific kind of magic, and I'll be talking about it in this particular episode, and I'll talk about different strategies or techniques and how you can customize magic for corporate events. So you generally be performing corporate magic, of course, at different events, and these are generally sales-driven events, business events, or marketing-driven events because the client wants to communicate certain messages or highlight the brand to a target audience. So it's always either for branding purposes or sales purposes. If you are doing, let's say, a hospitality event where it's just a pure entertainment event, many times, in fact, clients will say, hey, we don't really want to play up so much of the corporate branding and the messaging because we just want our audience to relax. Maybe you could feature their logo or an executive, but don't, you know, don't really hard sell the audience because this is really it's supposed to be an entertainment event, and we're not here to really hard sell the audience. We are in a trade show setting or a media event where the goal is to just pump them information and hope to have a call to action. So if you're performing a gala dinner, many times a client may just say, hey, just do your regular set, we just want to entertain the client. In that case, you're just performing your normal show or your normal set, and you're not going to be doing what we call corporate magic. So my experience in corporate magic, before I really went hardcore and doing mainstream illusions, I did do corporate magic for 7 years of my life. I was doing close-up, parlor, stage, even illusions. I did a lot of trade shows, conferences, media events, launches. I flew across the world to do different trade shows, and for many different industries. I've represented clients for the banking, financial industry. I've done telecommunications, plastics industry, which is like chemical and plastics. I've done IT, so for SAP shows, and that's like enterprise resource planning, ERP basically, services. So that's really IT, and many different industries across genres, and you have to learn all this information about clients, about industry, and you have to customize your magic. So I did this for 7 years. It's a great lucrative market, the corporate magic market, and many of the most successful magicians today are all corporate magicians. You might not have heard of them because they're busy working on the corporate events, representing brands and clients, working at trade show conferences. And it's quite a niche audience in a sense because maybe corporate event planners who know them, conference planners know them, direct corporate clients who know them, but they to the general mainstream public or general entertainment agents. But trust me, they make a great living and they're very busy doing what they do. Personally, for me, I was doing it for 7 years. Great money, great opportunity. I was traveling a lot, but I came to the point where I had to make a decision. I had to decide whether I want to, give it a shot for kind of a mainstream performance style or corporate style. Because as you can imagine, both are very different. The corporate audience, the environment is very different from a mainstream entertainment environment. At the time of my career, I was thinking, you know what? I figured at that point, at my age, I should give it a shot for mainstream, give it a try. And if it doesn't work out, I could always go back to the corporate market. I have the experience. I could, ease my way back into it down the road. Because in a corporate market, the older you are, the more credibility and experience you might bring to the table, and that can be a selling point for corporate clients. So that's when I decided to shift my focus. I dropped the whole corporate magician branding, or at least the position that I was trying to establish, which eventually, led to mainstream TV and then more mainstream entertainment style gigs, which I'm still doing today. So I'm happy. I think, well, I'm definitely happy that I made that conscious choice, but I did have to make a conscious choice, and I'll explain why in just a while. But I made that conscious choice, and if I ever decide to go back to corporate, I know I still could go back to it. I still do corporate events. I do gala dinners. I still do product launches, but not in more trade shows. Not the really the hard selling events. And you understand what I mean by hard selling in just a while when I talk about how we customize the magic. So, but that's my story. So I do have quite a lot of experience. I spent a lot of time thinking about corporate magic, thinking about how to customize, and all this, of course, has I brought over to the mainstream side of things, because I'm still customizing stuff for a lot of corporate launches where I have to make stuff appear or communicate a message with the magic or the illusion. So I talked about why there was a need to make a conscious change. Why couldn't I just do, both corporate magic at one time and also doing the mainstream magic at the same time? Well, the reason is the corporate market is very specific. So we're talking about three different things. We're talking about understanding the corporate market from the point of view from the client, the audience, and the environment. So let's talk about the client first. So the client, we're talking about generally corporations or brands who are choosing to use magic or entertainment as a form of branded entertainment to reach out to the audience. So these are marketing managers, executives who are generally from the corporate world. They have their KPIs, their key performance indexes, they have their goals, their targets, and they have to either reach their sales or marketing targets for the company. But they have chosen to use entertainment or branded entertainment as a means to communicate the message or reach out to the audience better, and that's where you come in. So it's great we have these type of clients. So clients who think of using a magician or an illusionist for their trade show or conference, that's great because they're really open-minded enough to use you. But of course, they expect the entertainer or the person who's representing the brand, you're really a de facto spokesperson on that day for that show or for that event to the audience. So no matter how forward-thinking the marketing executive is, it also depends on the brand of the company. They have to respect and they have to reflect the brand values of their company. So even if they are, very outgoing, they're very forward-thinking, if they're representing a brand which has a certain image, they need to make sure that whatever marketing effort or tool that they employ has to be representative of their brand. So therefore, if they are using branded entertainment, they're using an entertainer, they need an entertainer or magician in this case to be able to represent the brand. That includes how you speak, how you look, your attire, and how you dress. So I wouldn't say for every single company, because some companies don't mind having a spokesperson or entertainer who's really out there. But by and large, as a blanket statement, especially for general events, we're not talking about them getting celebrity spokespersons to make an appearance. We're just talking about a general entertainer they might hire to add value to the event, to communicate. Someone who's safe, someone who looks very professional, speaks very professionally, can communicate to the audience, and can represent the brand. That is, really, really important. So it can be quite different from a mainstream entertainer. So a mainstream entertainer is about entertaining the mainstream's general audience, and a lot of times it's about attracting public attention, getting media interest, getting online buzz. So being safe doesn't always cut it. So normally, you either have to be a bit more flamboyant in your dressing, your style, your material. And so, for example, hair like this, that might not always work for, a very traditional corporate setting. But it works great for mainstream setting. They see you on a, entertainment stage and performing with lights, music, smoke. Yeah, they expect an image like that. But for corporate image, they want someone in a suit and tie, looks good, uh, fits their audience profile, fits a profile that their audience can relate to and that the client is comfortable with. So that's why I said I had to make a conscious decision, because if I were to, try to go to a mainstream market, but always think that I had to cater to my corporate client, I would probably be torn apart in terms of the look, the style of illusions, the music, and I didn't. Anytime you want to commit to a particular market, you can't be a jack of all trades. Well, I guess you can be a jack of all trades, but if you really want to succeed, it's hard to be a jack of all trades. So you really have to be a master at one domain and focus on that specific market. So I had to make that choice. So I decided, to just leave that corporate magic market and go mainstream, and I could then focus all my attention and my detailing to that particular market. So if you intend to perform for the corporate market, bear in mind the corporate client, who you're representing, and what they're looking for. And that goes to the second point, the audience. Now, the audience that you perform for generally will be people in the corporate arena as well. So these could be executives, they could be anyone connected with the company. Because remember, when you are performing a corporate event, if you are performing in a trade show, you could be anyone in the trade, from a buyer to a marketing person, a finance person, a salesperson, but you basically have a vested interest to be at the trade show. So a trade show is like an exhibition where vendors exhibit in the entire expo or convention center, and all these different companies will be having different booths, and the sole purpose is to try to sell or market the brand. It used to be focused on just branding, but really now it's about sales conversion. Very few people just turn up at trade shows just to say, hey, I'm there. They used to do that, but not anymore. Now it's all about sales. If there's no conversion, there's almost no point at being at the trade show. So there goes the sell. So there is a bottom line interest. So for visitors who are at trade show, they are there to look for good partners, good vendors, good suppliers, someone who can fulfill their needs at great prices. And for the vendors who are exhibiting at the trade shows, they're there to find new partners or clients and to make a sale. So the event audience in any kind of corporate environment, they are still there to either add value to their own business, whether it's to learn because they're in a conference or a talk or seminar, or in a trade show because they're there to buy something or to sell something, or even if they're journalists who is at a media event or even a conference or a trade show, they are there to report on newsworthy, interesting news. So none of the people here are there to see a magic show, which you happen to be the at. So if you go there and start pulling rabbits out of hats or pulling silks out of a change bag, you aren't going to hold their interest for long. In fact, many people in the audience, especially the serious ones, they might feel this is a waste of time. Why are they watching a magic show when they're here to do serious business or to cover serious business news? So that's why what you present at these corporate events or what your corporate magic is very important to this audience. And finally, we come to the event environment. So the corporate event environment, because of the nature of the corporate market, because of the nature of the corporate, the client, the audience, and the objectives for these events to be organized, they're not there to showcase a magic show, which means that the entire stage setup, the technical facilities, the layout of the environment or the event is all geared towards their primary marketing objective, which could be branding, sales, uh, brand awareness, communicating a message, showcasing a brand new product, or a corporate identity. It's not there to make sure that, oh, Mr. Magician can do a good job. He won't flash when he's performing his illusion. Therefore, unless you're really a high entertainer where they're spending a large chunk of the marketing budget on just you will have to adapt to their environment. You might have some say, but by and large, for example, if a trade show client comes to you, if they haven't worked with a magician before, if they haven't worked with you, they probably have designed their booth layout where they want the counters, their screens, their banners, and the branding and the product displays. They have all that worked out. And then they come to you and say, hey, we thought of having you uh, a magician or illusionist come here and do some magic to attract people to a booth. But then when you look at the stage layout, you realize, or the booth layout, you realize there's no stage or space for you to be there. So maybe you have to discuss with them, and they might provide you with a platform, but it's less than ideal. If you're working conferences, same thing. They would set it up for a conference, depending, of course, how elaborate this conference is, because some conferences are like rock concerts. Other times you might just have a platform with not even a backdrop, on a riser, and the people are in front of you. So conditions can be challenging for a magician. So whatever you perform has to be able to perform in these environments, unless you can give your technical rider, which is your technical requirements, and you discuss with clients to cater the stage or the event environment to your needs. So a lot depends on how much they're investing in you and how important you are in the grand scheme of things. But just bear in mind that the environment can be very challenging. So don't expect, theatrical lighting, smoke machines, trapdoors, side wings, backstage. You may have very little of that, or you may have none of that, but you're expected to do a good show. So that's an overview of the corporate market, the event client, the audience, the environment, and these can be seen as limitation, or I would say rather not limitation, but challenges for a corporate magician, and what you need to do in order to entertain or rather communicate a message with your magic for this crowd. So the type of magic. So corporate magic, which is essentially customizing magic to communicate a message, highlight a brand or product, or even a person. It can be any kind of magic. It can be close-up magic, it can be parlor magic, it can be stage magic, and even illusions. So if you're performing for a cocktail reception, hospitality event, a hospitality suite, you could be doing card effects, coin effects, or whatever close-up magic you're doing, but it is corporate magic in a close-up setting. You could be doing parlor magic. A lot of networking events, media events can be for very small audiences, 50 people and below. So it's not really stage, it's more parlor. When you're doing trade shows, you could be doing either a parlor or a stage act, depending on what the environment is. I would say 70 to 80% of the time, trade show settings are parlor environments, because it depends on the size of the booth. Booths aren't very big, and they can't give you a huge stage because you'll be taking up the entire booth. That is real estate. They're paying a lot of money. The client is paying a lot of money for these booths. So space is very important. So they will try to minimize your space, actually, even though they want you to draw as many people as you can to the booth. So there is that, that conflict or that fight, that balance that clients have to have. So generally, you'll be performing for a smaller crowd. Also, I would say for trade shows, depending on your style. But when I was performing, I would always go for big crowds, because I wanted to create, a massive impact and seem like I'd be drawing a lot of people. So easily I would have 50 to 70 people each time I'm performing. But that is still more of a parlor show than if you're doing big conferences or big product launches where they're really building up a stage, or even a big trade show where they have a massive booth, then you might be doing more of a stage act to reach out larger or to create scale and production value, or you might even be doing an illusion show, which I guess we call corporate illusions. But basically, any kind of magic can be corporate magic, and it's really dependent on the environment and the size of the audience more than anything else. So I'm not going to be talking about any specific genre of magic. I'm just going to give you an idea of how you can customize magic for corporate magic. And I'll give you 4 different ways on how to customize magic for corporate events. And I'll go with, I guess, the simplest to the hardest. So the simplest is, well, when I say simplest, it's not necessarily from magic technique, but I'm talking about the concept of how to customize the magic, how intuitive it is. So the most basic way you can customize your magic is by featuring a product or the company's product. That seems like a no-brainer, right? So if the client is launching a brand new smartphone or perfume or drink, if you can feature this product in your presentation, that is the most direct way to perform corporate magic, because you're showcasing the actual product. Now, how do you showcase the product? You can showcase it in different ways. The most obvious way is to magically produce it, right? And that's what many people do, and clients love that. Can you make my product appear? And if it's small enough, that's something you can palm, or you could sleeve, or you could steal and produce, that's great. So producing a client's product would be at the top of the list. Some clients would tell you, can you make my product disappear? You technically might be able to do it, but I never see the point of making it appear. If you're at a branding event where you're showcasing a client's product, or you're at launch, you produce the product. You don't make it disappear. Why would you want to make it vanish? You should make it appear, unless you're doing a brand X, like a competitor's brand, right? Brand X, and you make that vanish, and then you make the client's product appear. That is strong, and that makes sense. But if you are representing a client, never, in my opinion, don't make that product appear. From a magic perspective, it is harder. But then again, from a branding point of view, it makes no sense. You want to showcase that brand, so make it appear. So always talk a client out of making their product disappear. Now, what if you can't make the product appear? It's just not practical, the environment is not right, or you don't have a technical method, or the product is too big. You can still feature the actual product. For example, let's say you have a large bottle, which is a new soft drink, and I've done this before. So it's hard to make it appear constantly over and over again, or if you're performing a close-up setting, you can't load it. It's not that practical. So how can you feature this? So I've done a card in bottle. So basically, I'll have a card. I used actually Gaten Bloom's intercessor gimmick, where a corner is torn off from the card vanishes, and before everything, I would have given this bottle to someone to hold, and the card vanishes. Now we take the bottle, because there's a plastic label around the bottle, take a knife, cut it, we split open the packaging or label. They now see their card inside. Now you can give everything as a souvenir, and of course they can take the corner. If they're ever inclined to open everything up, everything will match up. So that's a great way of featuring their product without producing it. So you can, find a way to incorporate the product into your magic without producing it. And that's the easiest way of performing corporate magic, by producing or featuring the client's product. Now, method number 2, and that's not to feature the physical product, but to feature the brand identity. The brand identity can be in the form of a product image or the logo of the brand. So, okay, well, let's get into a bit more detail. So sometimes you can't feature the product, maybe because it's just not practical. Maybe it's a tractor. Maybe it's a large format printer. It's a construction company, or it's a software company. It's abstract. Their product is not a physical product. So you can't produce it, or you can't incorporate the product. If it's too large, maybe an environment which is not practical to just do anything. Therefore, the other way then is not to feature the physical product itself, but is to feature the brand identity in the form of a graphic or image of the product, or the logo, which would be my preference. So let's say you're performing close-up. One thing I like to do, I would have the client's logo printed on a blank face playing card. I'll have that in the deck. I'll take out the card, show the cards all different, and I would force someone to pick the branded card. I'll have them, I'll classic force it. They'll keep it face down and in their palms. And I would stress that, we have 52 different choices here. Every card is different, just like there are different competitors in the market. You have so much choice, so much variety, but you made one choice. You chose one card, where at one event, turn the card over, and when they turn it over, the brand's logo is on it, the client's company logo is on it, and you're at the event. It reinforces that they pick one choice, they pick one card, and they pick the brand, they pick the client. So that's very strong. It's, from a technical point of view, it's so simple. From the magical point of view, it's almost nothing. It's so straightforward. You could use any good force. It's almost stress-free, and it's all about presentation. But from the branding point of view, it's really strong. You're reinforcing, the choice for a company from your script, and then it's punctuated by them choosing the only card in the entire deck with the logo or the brand on it. The client loves an effect like that. It's very surprising for the event audience, and the magic is very simple to understand. It's straightforward. It's a no-brainer. It's visual. You could perform it with very little patter. It's visual, so it's a great example of how to use a brand image. For stage, you could make a logo appear instead of the product. You could do self-printing effects. Uh, Now with iPad Magic, you could make the logo appear on the iPad. Just so many things you could do with brand identity. But that's another technique of customizing the magic for a corporate event. You don't have to use a physical product. You could use the brand identity in terms of a corporate image, a logo, or the image of a product. The third way is to feature people from the product. And this is basically what we magicians would call audience participation effects. So you would, involve an audience member with the magic. Okay, so I'm going to give you examples because that's the easiest way. If you're performing for an internal event, which is a conference, an internal event means that the audience are all employees of the company that you're representing. So external event may include partners, vendors, medias, people who are not direct employees of the company. Now, a common theme in internal events for conferences or training sessions or seminars will be teamwork. So if you could perform an effect where you have different people come on stage and they perform an effect which requires all their participation to work together to create a magical result, that is a metaphor or symbolized magic effect for teamwork. Or if you have an escaped effect where the employees and a CEO are strapped together, and together they have to work out to figure out the combination lock in order to unchain themselves. That's another example of working together across different levels for a common goal. To unchain the company, to unleash themselves for greater profits. So these are examples of how you can use people to highlight a message and the brand. If you're working an external event, which includes customers, clients, partners, and employees from the event, you could have a buyer or a client of the company, and you have a sales staff member or an executive on stage, and you facilitate or create an effect where the staff reads the mind of the client. And this is a good example of customer service or being able to anticipate a client's need and cater to the needs and know what they want so that they can serve them better. So that's a great message, a great way to showcase their brand. But again, it's not showcasing a product, not showcasing image, but you're showcasing people. So that's the third way of customizing magic. Find effects that can use audience participation, but that can communicate a very strong message by their direct involvement in the magic. The final way of customizing magic is the most difficult way because it does take some creativity, imagination, and intelligence to be able to craft this message. And that is to showcase a brand message with the magic. So now when you produce a product, and here's the launch of the brand new latest smartphone, and you make it appear. Ta-da! That's visually impactful. It is branded in the sense that you're showcasing the product, but there's no real brand message. Okay, so what is a brand message? A brand message is generally a positioning statement, or it could be a statement that highlights a benefit or a feature of a product or the company. Okay, let me distinguish between a feature and a product, because a lot of times, the company themselves may not do this for you. In fact, they like to harp on features and not the products. But they like to harp on the features but not the benefits of a product. Okay, let's talk about a feature. So what's a feature? A feature is something like, this is a smartphone. It's the smallest smartphone on the market. It measures 7 cm by 3 cm. It weighs 0.7 grams. It's got this nanotechnology, best in the market. yada yada. These are all features, basically numbers, product specifications, very boring stuff. The only people who really seem to like it are really the geeks or the client themselves. Because the features themselves mean nothing to a lay audience or the audience you're trying to sell. But the benefits are what are important, and the benefits are what derive from the features. So while the features, maybe this product is small, it's got these dimensions, it's got this weight, it's got this technology, the benefit is it's the smallest smartphone on the market that can fit in your pocket without creating a bulge. It's the lightest smartphone on the market, so you can fit in your handbag without being too heavy. These are benefits for a customer or a client or an audience. Benefits derived from the features. So when you communicate your corporate magic and you customize your magic, clients always want you to highlight the features because this is the technical jargon they've created. But to the audience, the lay audience, or the audience they're trying to sell to, they really want the benefits. So you have to do a bit of both because you have to satisfy both the client and the event audience. So you have to find a way to feature both the features and the benefits in your magic. So let's go with the smartphone idea since we'll be talking about that. Let's say you have a small box, which is a cardboard box, which is folded flat. Now you show a cardboard box that's folded flat. It's got the branding of the client on it, and you say that, well, the client has always been at the forefront of technology, and the newest phone that they have created has these following specs. And now you go to the specs, how small and how light is it, and what technology it uses. And you turn it over, and now there's an image of the phone. And now you can go into the benefits. But the benefits, of course, is the fact that it's ultra lightweight, it's easy to carry, it's easy, you won't even feel it when it's in your handbag or your pocket, and sometimes it's so small you don't even realize it's there. Unfold it and you take out the phone. Okay, I know in this case I've produced the phone once again, but you can see how this directly links to the messaging, which is the features and the benefits of the particular product. Okay, let's talk about another example. Let's say you are representing a wireless payment app. So this is a company which allows you to make wireless payments through your phones or through the internet. Now you could do a coins across. You could show money and explain that this is money, hard-earned money, from the customer, but you have a valued product from the client, or you want to send money to a client, or even just a friend as a gift, and you want to do it in convenience, and all you have to do is press a button. So you have, let's say, a smartphone with an image of the clients, or even the button, right? The button that they will press if they go to the interface of the app. You tell them hold it and press the button. When they press the button, you make one coin go across. Press the button again and the second coin goes across, and finally when they press the third coin, you make the final coin goes across. So this is an example of how you're using magic to communicate now the feature of the wireless transfer, because they don't see it, happens in cyberspace wirelessly, but it happens fast and it's convenient just at the touch of a button, and instantly it happens. So an example of a coins across shows how you can highlight the features and the benefits of this wireless app without featuring, the actual app or any kind of product. You do kind of feature the brand image a bit, since I'm using the phone. But the magic really encapsulates and highlights and projects the features and the benefits to the audience. So that's another example of, creating branded or corporate magic. As you can see, it seems really easy when it's presented like that. You say, oh, that's so obvious. But to think of it does require some creativity, some thinking, a lot of thinking, in fact, to really highlight a message that makes sense. Because sometimes people do highlight the message, but it's not very strong, or it's weak. The connection is very weak, and you really have to accept that, and it's not very strong. Or sometimes the magic, it's so convoluted, and the message is so convoluted and confusing that the audience doesn't get anything and they get confused. The best corporate magic is something that's very direct, very straightforward, but highlights the message. Now, here's a tip: always make it as clear and simple as possible. Clients will always tell you, oh, we want you to highlight all these products. Here are the specs. And they give you 2 pages of specs, 50 different specs. It is impossible, and it's actually counterproductive to try to incorporate so much information in the magic, because no one will be paying attention. No one can absorb anything. I would always say just go with one key feature, one key benefit with your magic, one routine, and that's stronger. And you might use different that routines to then highlight different features and benefits in the course of an act on show. Never try to load up on the information onto the one routine, because some people like to, let's say it's a multi-phase routine, and they would have a coins across, let's say 4 coins across, and each phase they would try to have, pack 2 different messages or features or benefits with each phase to cover 8 different messages or benefits. That's just, it's way too much. People might just switch off, might not get interested, or at the end of the day, they don't remember anything, and no one goes away happy because you don't communicate a message. The audience are confused, they wasted their time. You don't feel good because you didn't do your good job from a magical standpoint of view or the messaging standpoint of view. And if you're hired as a corporate message or corporate magician, the sole reason you're paid that amount of money more than a regular magician is because you can perform corporate message. You can feature the product, the brand, or highlight the message into your magic. So that is your number one goal. So those are the 4 ways. There's much more ways. I have probably about 6 to 8 different ways I can incorporate a brand, a product, or a message within corporate magic to create a very textured show. But I've given you 4 to get you started. So let's end this off by talking about resources. How do you go about learning about corporate magic and stuff? Well, the first thing you've got to do is to immerse yourself in the corporate market. If you aren't already in it, you have to be very aware of terms they've used. You have to think how they think. You must understand corporate structures, the selling process. You must understand B2C, B2B business models. So that's a business to business model, or business to customer business model. So B2B means companies sell to other customers. B2C is business selling direct to consumers or the mass market. 2 different companies with 2 different models will work completely differently. The marketing strategies will be different. The sales strategies will be completely different. You need to learn all these jargons. And how do you do that? Very simple. You can buy books, business books. There are books such as, the 50 best business strategies or common business strategies or models in the market. Read something like that, and you will be covered. A lot of it may seem very alien to you, but you have to start somewhere. You have to get to know the jargon, get to know different premises, because industries, best practices are generally the same. They are transferable. Of course, there are certain strategies and models which may be specific in between industries, but in the grand scheme of things, they are generally the same. That's why if you get an MBA or you get a degree in business, it's with knowledge to all kinds of industries and markets. But you need to be aware of this. The more aware you are of, business models, strategies, the jargon, the techniques used in the business and the corporate world, the better you are at being able to customize your magic. That's one. And the second is, of course, you'll be able to speak the language of your client. Therefore, you can convince them that you are the one for the job. More importantly, you can command a higher fee. If I am representing an investment firm, and if I have no idea what are stock, shares, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, index funds, if I have no idea what all this means, I can't convince them that I can represent the brand. But if I can, explain to them, I can show them, I understand investment as much as your customers do, understand what they are interested in, what sort of investors are they, you know, what sort of analysis they use. Are they, fundamental analysis, technical analysis? How do they analyze stocks in order to know what to invest, and what sort of investments they want to make based on their own investing objectives, their time horizons, their investment goals, the amount of money they have, how they want to allocate the assets, things like that show a client that you know what you're talking about, and therefore they'll be very confident to know how you'll be able to customize your magic to highlight their brand and to communicate and to link to their audience. So you need to know all this information. The best corporate magicians, I can tell you, they know this information across industries at the back of their palm. They'll be up to date to the latest corporate news, especially if they focus on certain industries. If they, let's say, focus on technology, so they do a lot of tech trade shows and conferences, you can bet they'll be reading the latest tech news to be up to date, knowing what's the tech news, what the latest development within the market, what the latest inventions, when are things going to be marketed, what is what's in development, and how far away is to the market. They will know all these things, and it's important because you need to be in the world in order to understand the world, in order to communicate with the client and the audience. So you can do that by reading books, going online, checking websites, news websites, reading the business news. You can subscribe to magazines or websites which they specialize in news on the corporate event industry. So they may talk about maybe the schedules of corporate events, or they may highlight very successful corporate events, or they may highlight even the event management or the exhibition booths or the attractions that were featured at certain corporate events. So back when I was into the corporate magic, I used to subscribe to special events magazines, corporate event magazines, which would highlight corporate events across the US or the world, showcase what different events we're using to reach out to the audience, whether it's by way of installations or exhibits, the staging, choices of entertainment, what was the trends at the time, lighting design, technology, music, basically what were the trends and what were companies using around the world to attract their audience and to communicate their branding, their marketing, and their message to the audience. So basically, you need to absorb all sorts of information. You have to be in, the corporate market. I'm not so in it right now. Certain sectors, yes, I'm still involved in it to keep up to date, and because I am also still doing a lot of corporate events. But definitely, if I was, full blown back, like I was doing trade shows or conferences, media events, solely for corporate markets, you can bet, every day I would be, getting information on these industries and markets. So you've absorbed one part of it. Okay, that's just the corporate side of it. Now you need to have that technical knowledge from the magic side. Good corporate magicians have very good general knowledge in magic. So you need to have, be multifaceted, whether it's close-up, stage, parlor, across genres, whether it's mentalisms, illusions, escapes, card magic, coin magic, rope magic, whatever it is. You need to have a very wide general knowledge, because only then you'd be able to figure out, based on the message that a client is trying to communicate, you'll be able to pick out which magic effects will best suit that particular message. If not, if you have a very limited scope of magic, it's going to be hard for you to customize the magic, because you only have certain ideas, and you'll find you'll be rehashing your magic. That is fine, because good things will work. You can, like for example, the coins across routine will work for credit card payments, wireless payments, any kind of funds transfer, investments, return on investments, anything which showcases money going from one location to another. But industries are also very small. So if you perform, let's say, for one credit card company, 1 week, the next week, you probably don't want to perform it again, because the same audience may be there. And you don't want to be in a position where, the audience sees you and says, hey, I saw you represent client A or bank A last week, and now you're representing bank B and you're doing the same thing. It just doesn't seem very genuine. and doesn't seem very sincere on your part. And then it becomes, okay, this is just a gimmick. You really want to seem sincere, not just like a cheap sales pitch, and magic is just a gimmick. So therefore, you do need a wide range of magic effects to be able to draw upon to be able to customize the magic. There are some resources in the magic community, not much, I would say, in terms of material which has been put out in recent years. Michael Baker from the UK, he put out a really good book called The Business of Magic, very thick, big book, a lot of different ideas of customizing magic for corporate and special events. I don't know if it's still available, but you can try to track that down. Joel Bauer, he had a course on trade show magic called Hustle. That was years ago. I'm not sure if he has updated it, but you can check that out as well. I have all these resources which I bought, back in the day. And now I know there are a couple which has some trade show magic, and it's more on giving you examples of examples of routines which are already customized, or how to customize the magic within the routine. Stage magic illusions, not much magic, except for me, I guess. I have one book called Corporate Illusions Made Easy, who have 10 different illusion and stage effects, which covers everything I've said, from featuring a product, a person, a brand image, ways to make products appear, people appear, showcase teamwork with an escape illusion, many different effects, and basically everything I've covered. I have examples of these in the books, and it's made easy, so it's designed for you. If you haven't built illusions before, you haven't designed illusions before, that's fine, because the plans were designed to be easy, and you could bring this to a corporate stage sets or exhibit manufacturer or maker, props maker, and they will be able to make the prop for you. So often if you're working in a trade show, the client would have a contractor to build the trade show booth. You could easily piggyback and get them to build it for you, or you tell the client, this is part of the requirement. In order to do this, this has to be made, and the props guy should make it because he's building the booth. There should be synergy between the prop and the booth, so everything looks the same and organic. So that's Corporate Illusions Made Easy. You can find it at illusionbookstore.com, or look at the show notes of this page. So there you have it, lots of information, but it is quite a tough subject, corporate magic. Just a quick summary. So different types of corporate magic. You need to understand the objectives of the event. You need to bear in mind the corporate event client, the audience, and the environment or the setting that you're performing in. There are 4 different ways, or these are really just 4 ways. There are many more ways, but these are 4 ways you can customize your magic. You can produce or feature the actual physical product. If there's no product, you can feature the brand identity in the form of the image of the product or the logo. You can feature people, staff of a company, or customers and the staff of a company, or just the customers of the company, but basically human capital. You're featuring human capital in the magic to communicate a message. And finally, the most abstract and difficult, but also the most impressive and effective way to communicate a brand is to perform customized magic, where you use your magic to inherit a feature or a benefit to your audience. And the way you do all this, of course, is through learning. You have to absorb knowledge, understand corporate markets, understand the business markets, understand your specifications of industries that you'll be working for. And you need a wide variety of magical knowledge and the ability to now marriage these 2 different knowledges together, the corporate and business market, the objectives of what a client wants, and then all your different effects that you have, which ones work, and then you kind of put that together to create an act or a show. So it's not easy, and I'll be the first to admit it's not easy, but that's why it's also a very lucrative and high-paid market, because there are not many people who can do this. And therefore, clients are willing to pay because you add tremendous value to the event. If you can showcase corporate magic at a very high level, you are very, very valuable to a client, and you are the only one. So supply and demand as well. Not much supply of such high-end corporate magicians, therefore demand will be high, therefore price will be high. That's basic economics as well. So good luck. I hope I've given you some insight on how to customize magic for corporate events. Check out illusionbooks.com. Subscribe if you haven't, because lots of free information, free illusion plans, and a book just for you. My name is JC Sum, and hope to see you on stage.